Hey, welcome to another episode of Coffee HEMA with me, Jamie McKeever. I've not done one of these for a while. Apologies. I'll explain in a second. I've got a few that I'm going to be uploading, which I filmed and never uploaded as a backlog, but this is my first one. This is early Feb. Pretty much this year that I've actually filmed to load. Today, I want to talk about international events and why I do them. This is part of why I haven't been doing many. I was busy with Helsinki. I've also been ill. I've also been busy with the Safety Tips project, which I hopefully talk about soon. And it came up in a Discord chat a while back after Helsinki. People saying, well, is it worth traveling for this big competition? I don't see what the point is, this kind of stuff. So there's two things I want to say about this. First of all, I want to thank people at these events. Not just the organizers. I want to thank viewers at these events. I've had a few people when I've been at Turnhow, when I've been at Dutch Lions, when I've been at Helsinki recently that have come up to me and said, love your content, it's great. Sometimes these can feel a bit like I'm shouting into the void and no one's listening, so if you see me at an event, please do that. Right? It helps me realize that actually these are important and people do pay attention. Even if it's not millions of people, I'm happy for even a handful to get something out of it. Makes me happy. So that was one great reason for me to travel, but that's not necessarily going to be for everybody. And I think the really important thing for international competitions in particular, and specifically international competitions in a different country to yours, is that they break you out of your comfort zone, and in a few different ways, all of which are important. And that's the fencing reason, which I think is the more interesting one. The less interesting one is, of course, because I enjoy them and I like them and I go to them because I think they're fun, right? And if that's not true, to be fair, if you don't enjoy them at all, then whatever I'm about to say about the fencing reasons is probably irrelevant to you, because at the end of the day, you're spending a lot of money to do something, and if you're not going to enjoy it, then why bother, right? But enjoyment comes in different flavors. So this breaking out the comfort zone, I think this is important, right? And the easiest way of thinking about this is that the smaller your fencing circle is, and the more standardized your conventions are, whether they are official rules or whether they're just your in-club conventions, the more bullshit you can get away with. So, when I first started fencing at a relatively small club, no one was particularly good in the club, and I was one of the tallest people, and I was getting away with a lot of snipey bullshit from being taller than people, right? And then I went to my first international event was Dijon, not a tournament. There was a tournament, but I didn't do it. And suddenly I fenced Dutch people who were bigger than me, and had lots of things I couldn't deal with. And I was like, oh, hang on a sec. None of this bullshit I've gotten away with in my club, because people have a different repertoire, different sizes in that case, right, is working in this circumstance. That was the first time I started really grappling, right? Because I realized that they weren't very good at that, and I was better at that than them, even though it wasn't my best thing. So I started to do that, right? So I had to bust out a move I never had to bust out in the club, simply by facing a new scene, right? That kind of example there gets even stronger when you also factor in things like rules. And in the last kind of 6 months, I've done quite a few. I've done Dutch Lions Cup, I've done Turnhow, I've done Helsinki, right? So three big tournaments, and I'll come back to that in a second in terms of the what you're looking for from a big tournament. With Dutch Lions and Helsinki have the same rule set to each other. It's similar to the rule set we have here, with a much narrower, much shorter AFBLA window and a very different judging system, which ends up with some interesting results. And Turnhow has a completely different system with its priority system, right? And for all three of those, I realized that certain aspects of my fencing that are okay don't punish me as much as they probably should, because of some of the aspects of the Wessex system. Or maybe punishing me is the wrong version, but they definitely, the Wessex system disguises some of these issues, right? Which has a relatively long afterblow. Particularly what I'm talking about here is I have a fairly defensive style, right? I like to only attack if I can create an opening, and I'm very happy to receive an attack, deal with it, come back with a counter attack, right? My power is pretty strong, but it does fail. Like anything that you do, it will fail some of the time. And with a longer afterblow window, that failed parry is less of a problem, because I failed my parry, fine, whatever, I've been hit, But if you haven't covered yourself, which most people haven't, coming back in for a quick riposte, which becomes an afterblow, is okay, and it covers me from that mistake, right? The failed parry. With the shorter afterblow window with priority, that doesn't happen, right? So the rule set automatically means that my thing that I'm good at is parrying. I have to be even better at if I wanted to succeed in this rule set. And spoiler alert, I didn't do great, and that's something I need to work on, right? Turnhout was another interesting one where you had the ability to take priority, and one of the things I like to do in attack is to provoke to make some kind of opening and then close in, which you could do to steal the priority in Turnhout. But if your action was too large, then that was considered not good enough, and priority was lost again, right? And I realized watching it back that actually some of my actions are too large, and I should tighten them up, not just from that rule set perspective, but that actually the actions are worse from the way that I'm doing them. Again, with the afterblow being kind of longer, or whatever happens to be, or negating doubles, doesn't matter too much if the action was too large, because yes, maybe it's too large, so I'm more likely to get hit, but it's a neutral score, or maybe a win for me if I get a head hit or whatever it is. And so it's kind of disguised. So busting yourself to go to new rule sets, new judging systems, new conventions also breaks you out of your comfort zone and helps you see kind of the hidden issues the issues that are being hidden by the environment that you're working in. Finally, of course, big tournaments in particular, and the three I just mentioned, the reason why I went to those three and not others is, of course, a larger field of good fences. Now, what's annoying about all three of those is they didn't have an A-B split. So you had lots of really good fences. I think in all of them I was about 10th seed, plus minus 2 or 3. Bearing in mind that I think, I'm not sure exactly where I was at those tournaments, but I was somewhere between 50th and 70th in the world, right, for longsword. So being 10th seed in that's a lot of good fences kind of above me, right? And really being able to push yourself against those. The downside of the bigger tournaments is, of course, that if they don't have some kind of A-B split, you're probably only going to get 1 or 2 fights against those top fences, and I didn't get any of them in Helsinki, sadly. I got some fights against people who were very good. Don't get me wrong, but I didn't get to any point where I was fencing somebody who was much above me in the rankings, which kind of sucked. But actually, and Turnhout either. But even so, that going to try and find top fencers, and I fenced most of them in sparring in both of those afterwards, which was good. Is one part of it as well, and your local scene is always going to have a smaller pool of those. Now, having said all of that, I plug this a lot, and I'm plugging it again. I think it would be much better if there was an A-B split, so you could be fencing people who are considered to be around your level, right, from a different scene. That's much more interesting for all the things I'm talking about, right? Because if you have a huge mismatch in skill levels, right, 1,700 versus 1,000, right, or whatever it happens to be, just to pick some extreme. None of the things I've just talked about really come to light, right? Because someone is so much better than them, the rules don't really make a difference because you're just going to be doing a clean hit every time. The issues aren't being disguised because for both perspective, right? If you're at 1,000, if you're just that outclassed, you're not really learning much from it, right? So skill divisions would make all of the things I just described much better because you'd be matched with someone where all of these things are getting revealed, and whether you are a 1,300 or 1,000 or whatever traveling to it, or 1,700 on the ratings, you would be getting that experience of being pushed out of your comfort zone. But big disparities mean you're not being pushed out of your comfort zone. You're being either squashed down or just comfortably breezing through. So there are some reasons to go, right? Obviously they're expensive, right? And I try not to fly, which makes actually them more expensive in most cases. But even if you are, the travel, the accommodation for a couple of days, the tournament ticket itself, easily you're talking about the price of a sword for one event. And I can absolutely understand being like, actually, I don't have the cash for that and it's not worth doing. Especially if, as I said earlier on, you don't enjoy them, right? Fundamentally, if you don't enjoy them, actually, think about what you would enjoy better with your money, unless you happen to be made of money and can spend whatever you want. But I'm assuming no one is in that bucket who's watching this. I think that's all I'm going to say for today. It was a bit rambly because I'm out of practice of doing them. Hope you enjoyed it, and hopefully I'll see some of you at tournaments soon. One coming up, Albion Cup. I will post this immediately because Albion Cup has still got availability for international registrations. I will put an email So contact details in the description, so that if you want to come to Albion Cup in June in the UK, in London, international fencers can register early, regardless of your rating. There is an A-B split. I think we've got some of the best judges in the world, frankly. I might be biased, but I think that. And I would encourage you to come longsword, single rapier, saber in both open and women's plus categories. So hope to see you there. Thanks for watching.